How do we provide for our big family? I don't know.
I really don't.
Nope. Let's get into that. Hi, I'm Andrea Warnock.
I'm Nathan Warnock.
And you joined us for Family Friday on the Marriage by Design channel. And this is a
show that we do. We do it on Fridays. Every Friday, in fact. It's a show where
my brain went dead.
It's a show where we look at what...
Can we retape that?
No, absolutely not.
Oh my God.
It's a show that we do every Friday where we take a look at what the Bible says about family, about what the Bible says about raising our families, and hopefully come to you guys with some thought-provoking, tips on how we can better live that out in our families. And hopefully some laughs along the way.
Oh my gosh, I got stuck on I was supposed to say podcast, not channel, and then I just wanted to redo it. Okay,
no worries.
Well, you get to see my stupidity played out.
No, we love
that
it.
Opening,
That's fun.
That opening was from our son Jackson. We were talking about how should we open it, and he goes, I don't know, maybe just say, how do we provide for our big family? I don't know.
And that's pretty much right.
Right.
That's pretty much right. So we've divided today's episode. We're going to talk about how do we provide financially for a big family. And we've really divided it into two kind of sections. A first part where we're going to talk about, what just some general things in providing financially for a large family. And look at this is different for different people, right? I mean, some people, it can get challenging to provide for just 2 children.
Yeah,
right?
we get the question. We get questions a lot about, how do we provide for a big family, but also how do you know when you're financially ready to have kids, and how do you know when you're financially ready to have more kids, or how do all that sort of thing.
Right. So we're going to start with some just kind of discussion of that, and then we thought we would round it out, the second half of the episode with tips. So we'll have just the facts and then just the tips.
Lord, you just had to say it.
What? There's facts and then there's just facts and then there's just the tips.
So we're going to talk about some facts, I guess, but just some examples from our own lives, things that have happened to us, which is great, ways that God's provided and what we know in the Word, and yes, then we'll get into just the tips.
Got it. Nailed it. All right, babe. Lead on.
So, yeah, having a big family is expensive. Having kids in general is expensive, but it doesn't have to suck you dry. You don't have to put all of your money into your kids and have nothing left, So, we want to talk to you about how we cut costs in raising 4 kids, and also how God's provided and grown our faith along the way as well.
Right, and this is totally not something that we are, amazing experts at.
No.
And Andrea would tell you, Andrea is definitely better at the cutting cost part than I am. And if you ever have a minute to talk to her, she will make sure to tell you that. But that being said, that we rely a lot on things that we've learned from other people, and which includes you, the community. So would love as we go through this to have you comment or go over to our Facebook page and post up what things you do as a family to help cut costs. And that doesn't matter if it's a big family, small family, things that you have learned, to make financial ends meet. We'd love to hear those things.
For sure. So I'm going to start with in Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight," or he will direct your paths, whichever version. So that's a huge one for us in a lot of ways, but really trusting the Lord for me with finances can be hard because that's an area where I get a lot of security out of. If we have enough money, I feel secure. If we don't have what I feel like is enough money, I don't feel secure. But choosing to trust the Lord in that area and just say, I know that my needs will never be unmet, that God will always make sure that my needs are met, and he's watching out for me, and I know that he's going to meet my needs, and we also need to work hard too. But we trust the Lord. And in a lot of circumstances where things have been rough, God has shown up in big ways, and that trust in him has been deepened, and it's been really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and specifically when it comes to kids, where this really started, rubber meeting the road, as they say, is as Andrea and I were thinking about, I mean, really, if we boil it down to the most basic thing, when we were thinking really about birth control, when we only had, did we even have 2 kids at the time? We might have just only had 1. And this is a perfect setup for our birth control episode, which needs to come up here in the next few weeks, I think, where hopefully we can certainly challenge common opinion on contraception, but even common opinion within the church on contraception, and hopefully make you just stop and think a little bit. The Lord really brought us a long way in this, but as at the risk of spoiling that episode, as he was walking through what we felt like he was calling us to do, we had some real insecurities about, well, if we have a big family, how are we going to afford that? I mean, you were beginning to feel, as Jackson was young, that maybe you were being called to stay home with him as he grew older. And again, he was the only child that we had at the time. And then the Lord really cemented that when you had Ryan.
Yep.
And, for me, I had a stable law firm job that the Lord had graciously provided to us. But we were praying through me leaving that to go, join a startup business, which who knew what that was going to look like. And so, as all these things were all coming together and percolating for us, this got real really fast about, well, what do we, how do we provide for the family that the Lord may be giving us in this situation? And right when we were in the middle of thinking and praying through all of that, a really cool thing, kind of one of those divine appointment things happened to us.
Yeah, we were at a benefit dinner for something
for Crisis Pregnancy Center, Women's Center.
Yes, right. And after the event, we ran into this guy that we really hardly even know, and honestly, I don't even remember who it was now.
I don't either.
But I remember at the time we barely knew him, but kind of.
I think he knew my dad.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of those things where he was like, do you know Dan Warnock? Because you look just like him, that type of thing.
So we ran into this guy. He has 6 kids, and we were saying, "Oh man, that's great." And he told us what he did for a living.
Insurance.
And he did insurance, which he's 100% commission. And we were saying, how do you make that work? Because that was right in the time where Nathan was considering joining this startup and really slashing income a huge amount, and it was we were really nervous about that. And it was totally a God appointment, divine appointment, because he just very relaxed said, well, I just figure these are God's kids that he's given to me, so he's got to figure out how to feed them. And it was exactly what we needed for exactly that time.
Yep.
Because it grew our faith to hear how much he trusted the Lord.
Yep.
And how he thought of that and relayed that to us. And again, it was such a small time that we talked to him, and
but it wasn't
to us,
5 minutes.
It wasn't even 5 minutes that we talked to him, but so significant in our lives, amazingly significant. And it was just one of those things that we look back on and say, we know that God had made that happen, mm-hmm. and made those words come, made that conversation even happen. And it has been something that we talk about frequently. Yeah, and
it's something that really became a foundation to how we looked at everything in our lives. And really, I would say one of those things that was foundational in even this channel, in that, one thing that really stood out to us about him is, he said it in a fun way that made us all chuckle, mm-hmm. but you could tell he was serious.
Yeah.
And in that one phrase, he was really saying, hey, remember, it's really all about the Lord, mm-hmm. right? Our kids are about the Lord. Our marriages are about the Lord. It's really all about the Lord. And so what stood out to us is, man, if we just continue to turn to the Lord, it'll be okay. It might not be comfortable all the time. It might not be easy,
right.
But he's got it.
Right.
And we've not only did that for our own marriage and with our own family, but we've tried to do that, pass that on to other couples and other families, that, man, let's just make it all about the Lord. And again, it might not be easy, might not be ideal, but God's got you, and He'll provide.
Yeah, and that was really at a time where we had been rebuilding our marriage, and so we had individually and as a couple really chosen to make God number one in our lives, and then we had started thinking about, family and future family, and really making huge steps in our faith in the Lord and in Nathan's career and all that sort of thing. And so there was a period of about 2 or 3 years where there were some crazy things going on in God, just really cementing our faith and really us trusting Him a lot more. So then within that 2 or 3 years, there was some things that happened too. I guess it was maybe a little bit beyond that, but just some ways to relay on to you that God has shown up in some really cool ways in our lives. We had 1 year, that was a little ways after, I guess, the 2014, but it was in 2017.
Just one of those years.
Had a year. Yeah. It felt like everything had gone wrong. We'd had a couple massive plumbing issues in our house. They ended up having to dig into our concrete, and it was bad. And I think there was a new car that needed to be bought that year, and we had a tree fall through our roof and come right in through our ceiling, and during a storm, and so then it rained in our house. Oh my gosh, there were so many things that year that went wrong. But throughout the year, and that was the year that Riker was born too.
Yep.
And that cool story with that too. But again and again and again, there were things that kept going wrong, but God kept providing. We got from your Bible study, just blessed our socks off and blessed us with some money. What were the other things that happened? Our church at the end of the year gave us some money for the work that we had done for them. I don't know. There was somebody at our church who knew that a tree had fallen through our house, and he has a construction company, and he did a ton of work for us for very, very little money because he wanted to bless us. And it was enormously helpful for us. Yeah. And it helped us to rebuild the back of our house, where the deck had to be taken off. And that helped us to afford to do that. It was just really crazy, the things that had happened that year where we couldn't have afforded what happened to us that year.
Right.
But God made sure that we were provided for.
Yep.
It was amazing.
That's right.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So then, and I kept saying, so that was the year that Riker was born. He was due in August. And I had not had my children all come early. And quickly, yes. But I kept praying, please don't let him come until his due date, because we've got so much going on. I just don't want to have this baby before the due date. Prayed and prayed and prayed, and what do you know? Riker was born on his due date. Right. Yeah, total God thing.
Every other one of your kids has been early, right?
Yes, I've never had a baby born due date or later except Riker. They've all been early. Yeah, just amazing. And then this year, another thing, right before we had Lincoln, we were looking for a car that would fit all of our kids in it. And we just hadn't found anything. And then my father-in-law saw their neighbor was selling a car, and it was the perfect thing for us. And we got it for a smoking deal. And, those sorts of things that happen that...
Yeah. Totally.
Just to increase your faith, that you're God's watching out for us. We know He knows our needs and our wants and what we have and what we don't, and He's watching out for us, and those increase our faith in huge ways.
Yeah, totally. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's always really cool to watch. And the crazy thing is, I struggle with trusting the Lord with things, but especially finances. But yet he always shows up. And yet when we're hit with something that's really tough to deal with financially, I still struggle in my faith. Is that like the dumbest thing ever? He always shows up. There's never been a time that he hasn't shown up. But yet when something comes that I'm like, oh no, are we going to be able to afford this or whatever? I'm still worried that he's going to let me down.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the craziness of me.
Yeah, I think it's all of us. I mean, I think all of us can struggle. Maybe it's not finances for everybody, but I'll bet if you're watching this, you can identify some similar thing in your life where the Lord always shows up in this particular area, but yet it's really hard for you to trust the Lord in that area. I think all of us it's sort of the human condition. The flesh doubts, right?
Yep. All right, so should we talk about some tips that we've learned along the way?
All right, tips we've learned along the way.
Afford a big family, or how to afford kids in general. There's that question of like, how do I know when I'm financially ready to have kids or financially ready to have another? Probably for most people, you'll never feel like you're financially ready. But the reality is kids don't have to be this huge financial drain on you. There's lots of ways that you can really enjoy life with your kids and not spend a huge amount of money.
Right, and that brings us to our first tip, which is just feed your kids every other week.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Every other week. And we even switch them off. And they don't even, the ones that aren't eating that week, they don't even need to be in the house. They can be
that is
outside.
So not what we do. All right, so our first tip for how to afford a big family, afford a big family, is we buy everything we can secondhand. And we usually, unless we can hand it off to somebody else, we sell what we no longer need either. So we use a lot of like Facebook Marketplace type thing.
Yep.
But
underwear.
Anything that, not underwear, I won't go there. Anything that we can, we buy secondhand. We've bought so many things secondhand because you can get great things that are, a lot of times that aren't even used, but are hardly used or still in great condition.
Toilet paper.
Oh my gosh, you're so ridiculous. First, for a fraction of the cost that you can buy it new. So, lots of things we buy used.
Right, and this totally was a foreign thing to me because that was not any of my experience growing up.
Unless you garage saled,
which we did.
The secondhand thing is a way more of a thing now because of the internet and social media. But
I suppose that's true. But even I don't remember ever going. Maybe they weren't a thing. Like the B2B or the
big consignment stores or sales.
Yeah, but that are normal stores. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think when I was young, they had the big the Civic Center had 1 million. But I don't remember the big Wheels to Butterflies where it's just it's a storefront where you can go sell stuff and then you can buy stuff. I don't remember that growing up, but maybe that was a thing.
So
we saved I mean, this is totally a puff up to you because you led the charge on this, and we saved so much money.
Oh, in so many ways.
Buying stuff, secondhand.
If there's ever anything that we need, that it makes sense to buy secondhand. There are of course things that don't make sense, but
diapers.
Gross. What is your deal? I have bought diapers off of consignment sales or people selling them, but they're not used. It's just that they have a pack that they didn't go through or something. You can get them way cheaper. Anyway, but if we do buy new, we also consider, something that we do is we consider quality in addition to price. So it's not all about price,
Sure.
If it's something that we want to last for a long time, then we're going to, well, sometimes buy new, but we're going to consider the quality if we want it to last a long time. Actually, when we bought this house that we're in, it was about 3 years ago, and I loved a lot of the furniture that they had in this house, so I contacted the owners and I said, hey, are you getting rid of any of your furniture that's in your house? And if so, can you tell me what? And I might want to buy it. And so she let me know all the stuff that she was planning on getting rid of, and I let her know the things that I wanted to buy, and we came to a price, and no one had to move the furniture, and we got a great deal.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so.
That's right. Okay. Good, so buy everything secondhand.
That you can.
Yep, that's right. Number 2, now this is a simple truth, but it is one that Americans seem to tend to struggle with. We don't spend more money than we make.
Yes.
This is Look, I'm guessing probably everybody watching this is going, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. But so many people get caught up in these credit card schemes or, these sort of, hey, buy something now, pay for it later sort of deals that can really jam you up. Because, particularly if you're not on a fixed income, right? So maybe it's a commission-based or, whatever the case may be, it's really easy as someone who is in a commission-based role to fall into that, I've got some things going right now that could be really lucrative for us. And, we'll buy the stuff we want right now, but then in a month when we get that commission check, it's all going to work out. And, of course, then you buy the stuff and you know what happens, right? You don't actually end up getting the sale that you thought you were going to get.
Yikes.
So there's tons of ways that you can fall into this spend more money than you make sort of problem. Namely, it's perhaps taking too optimistic of a view of your income, maybe taking too optimistic of a view of bonuses that you may or may not qualify for as an employee. But man, it can really get you. It can really get you in a bad way. I'd even go ahead. Did you want to say?
No, I was just gonna say. Then you're spending a lot of money just trying to not even keeping up. And spending a lot of money paying people to use their money. Yeah,
and I'd even go a step further to say it's not just about not spending more money than we make. It's about spending considerably less money than we make. Right. And I'm talking about things like investing in your future. This is something when we made the transition from the practice of law to the practice of toilets. We didn't for a few years we didn't do any investing because it was tight. Yes. Our finances were, but as soon as we could get away from that, we did. This is where you can go back and look at our video on end of year planning to take a look at how we do some budgeting to make sure that we don't spend more than we make. But that's kind of the idea.
Yep.
There.
Right. Okay, so number 3 is we comparison shop for everything, especially groceries. So really anything that we're buying new, like toilet paper, diapers,
okay,
all the things that Nathan was trying to say that I buy used, groceries, we comparison shop for that. That's easy to do online, of course, but I also spend a lot of time looking at grocery stuff that we buy and finding out where's the cheapest place to buy it and knockoff brands I buy all the time and making sure to hit sales and all that kind of thing. So it's worth it to me to spend the time figuring that out so that we can save money because I don't work. So that's kind of how that's one of the ways that I earn my keep here.
Yeah, no. you are great at that comparison shopping. Now, is this the right moment to talk about the toilet paper situation?
I thought you were going to talk about something else.
Like, is this a good...
What toilet paper situation are you talking about?
Well, like, your comparison shopping seems to be the lowest amount of plies you can get for toilet paper so that guaranteed your fingers going through into the poop.
I was just talking with some of my friends about this. So at our home, if you visit our home, you will probably hate our toilet paper. I buy 1-ply toilet paper.
And that's only because half ply is not available.
Well, it is cheap, and you don't go through it as quickly.
Oh, no, my fingers go right through it.
That's disgusting.
It's exactly right.
I guess it makes sure that people wash their hands with them.
I've had to start washing my hands after going to the bathroom.
Well, that's disgusting.
It's gross.
So your fingers do not go through. That's gross.
Okay,
this is why I use 1-ply. It's cheap. You don't use it don't go through it as quickly, but also you cannot clog a toilet with 1-ply toilet paper, right? We've got 4 kids, you guys. Kids are infamous for using too much toilet paper and clogging the dang toilets. Ever since we started going to 1-ply, which was a long time ago, we don't have toilet clogs because you can't possibly use too much 1-ply toilet paper and clog a toilet.
Right. No, it makes sense.
So, see, we save on plumbing costs, too.
Help me.
Okay, so great. We comparison shop for everything, including our groceries.
That's right. Next one is we rarely eat out. Mm-hmm. Now, this actually accomplishes this actually accomplishes a couple of things that are important to our family. The one is conserving money. Y'all, eating out is crazy expensive.
Yes.
And, by not doing that, we save a ton of money. To give you an idea, I think our eating out budget as a family of 6 every month is $100, I think. Something like that. And we never come anywhere close to that. In fact, what we tend to do is carry over the excess each month. And then if we do well, sometimes towards the middle or end of the year, Andrea and I will go out on a date to like a really nice steakhouse, and then we'll sort of even that scale back up. But we very rarely eat out. And really, as much as that saves us money, really a greater reason for that for our family is, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but particularly if you have, 2, 3, 4 kids, it's really hard to connect as a family when you're eating out.
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of other people around, so it's distracting. There's usually television somewhere, which if if there's a television anywhere, you're losing your kids, period. Right? My kids could give a crap about professional hockey or golf, but if it's on a TV in a restaurant, it's like the greatest thing they've ever seen in their life.
It's like a fly paper.
Right. So,
what's the saying?
So fly moth to the flame?
Yes.
Got it. Except our kids don't die.
Nathan's my brain.
I'm
just the voice box.
Buy 2-ply toilet paper.
Nope, I can think about that.
So we rarely eat out. And again, the alternative, of course, is that our grocery bill, right, is probably higher than if we ate out, although definitely not dollar for dollar.
Sure, of course not.
And then we eat together as a family, which, as you know, if you've watched some of our previous videos, is one of the boulders in our family anyway.
And we'd probably be like 30 pounds heavier if we ate all the time. We
right,
used to
I'm
eat
30
out.
Pounds heavy anyway.
Oh my gosh, no. So we used to eat out a considerable amount more when we had just Jackson. Well, when it was just us, and when we had just Jackson. And I remember saying, I can't imagine ever not eating out so much. That would be so sad. And then I just got used to it.
It is kind of sad, but you do get used to it. Well, we used to go every Saturday to Jimmy's Egg for breakfast. Jackson's watching us tape this video, and he's giving us the thumbs up. Fun. It was fun. And, it's something cool that we had with Jackson that none of the other kids are going to get to experience. Perks of being the oldest child.
Yep. Okay. So then the next thing that we do, the next tip, is we keep our priorities in check. So what I mean by that is, in my brain, I'm trendier than what I portray, what I actually am. I love fashion and I love home decor, but my priorities of what we spend our money on are that fashion and decor have to be way down on the list, and so I don't get to be very trendy because it just doesn't fit into the budget. I have a few pieces of clothing that are kind of trendy and a few fashion or a few home decor things that are kind of trendy, but I just don't have the money to really go all out, So we keep our priorities in check. The things that we want to do but aren't as high of a priority, they just kind of have to fall off the list sometimes.
Right.
Or we just don't put as much money towards those. We can buy them sometimes, but not as much as we would want if we just got everything we want.
Right.
So we keep our priorities in check, and it's good for it's difficult sometimes, I guess, but it's also good for our pride. For me, at least. It's like,
me too.
I don't need to give an image to really feel good about myself.
That's good.
Or portray an image to feel good about myself. So,
that's good.
Keeping our priorities in check.
That's good. Yeah. We also DIY anything that we can. Now, I'm pretty cool with the kids. DIY means do it yourself. So,
thank you very much.
I'm pretty hip. I Joanna Gaines it from time to time.
YouTube is the best thing for DIY.
Right. And, this is a big thing. And it's not just fixing things around the house ourselves, which we try to do. And if there's one thing I'm known for, it's for my skill with a tool belt. And I'm going to edit you laughing right out of this video. No, I'm not great at that. But we do stop laughing. Seriously. I try. And, you know, then when I screw it up worse, then I find someone that actually knows what they're doing to help me. But we do try to fix things that we can here around the house. But the DIY part of it isn't just that, right? There are a lot of things that are really easy to do that people tend to hire out just because you hire it out, right? Things like lawn care is a big one. Right, maybe not mowing, but fertilizer and all. It's really easy for somebody to go, well, I don't know what to put down when. And I mean, that's what the internet is for. Yeah. And it's super easy to do. It takes almost no equipment, right? You can buy a spreader for like $20 one time and use it for a decade. And the actual fertilizer costs way less than hiring it out. So even doing something simple like that is a big deal that can save a lot of money. And then the other thing is, you know, get routine maintenance on your stuff. Right? Your garage door opener, your air conditioning, your heater. Catch those things early. And, you know, that way you catch them before it's a problem that isn't just a problem with whatever broke, but also these several other things down the line that get really expensive really quickly.
Yeah, we try to get routine maintenance on all those big ticket items so that they're lasting a lot longer.
Right.
Okay. Right. The next one is vacations for us are many. We really prioritize getting away and taking vacations, but we also travel on the cheap.
Right. We don't take the kids. It's on the cheap, man.
That's not true. So we travel, just the two of us sometimes, but we travel with our kids a lot too. And we have taken some not cheap vacations, which is great. And we've saved up for those over a long period of time. But a lot of times when we travel, we really try to make it cheap. And we don't eat out. We usually are cooking our own meals, and we're staying at cheap Airbnb places, and we just make it work, and we love it. So we prioritize the traveling, so it is something that we spend money on, but we try to do that pretty frugally.
Right. And the funny part is when we talk to our kids about their favorite trips,
they're the cheapest ones.
They're the cheapest ones. I mean, Ryan's been on like some amazing trips in her life. Expensive trips, not expensive trips. And her like favorite trip in the world was when we took a vacation, a little weekend getaway, just me and the kids, to Des Moines, Iowa. And she just raves. I mean, she talks about it about almost every day. There. And that was a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't do it. We did hardly nothing. We walked around the tunnels that connect all the buildings downtown for 2 or 3 hours each night.
They loved
and
it.
It was just the greatest.
Yep. Yeah, so that's another thing. And then number 8.
Yeah. So rather than go out with friends, we tend to have a lot of our friends over to our house.
We do go out with them occasionally.
But. Sure. But typically we're having people over, and generally we're having them over in the evening.
What he said is we have them over in the evening.
That's right.
We can't decipher yawn talk. That's
right. And, you know, you might be going, well, can't you just go out to places that are inexpensive? And, of course, the answer to that is yes. The thing that makes going out with friends expensive has nothing to do with where we go with our friends and everything to do with we have to get a babysitter for the children. And babysitting is crazy expensive. I mean, we're paying our sitter upwards of 50 cents an hour at this point.
I wish.
No, but that's about what I got paid when I was babysitting.
I think I got paid like $2 or $3 an hour.
Oh man, I think I got paid $2 or $3.
I got like $2 or $3 an hour, and now it's gotten crazy. So it's hard to afford going out.
Right.
So yeah.
So we have our friends over.
A lot of times we have our friends over.
And it's really cool because if you do a little planning ahead and have a plan for what to do, you know, play a game, have 2 or 3 different types of games that you can play together, have, you know, a topic to talk about or whatever, it goes really well.
Yeah, and we have our friends over, our friends with kids, we have them over like as a family. You know, we'll have them over.
Yeah, do a potluck or do a dinner or whatever.
And then our kids play with their kids, and we get to spend some time as adults. So
that's right. So rather than going out, we tend to have friends over.
Yep. So we save up for things. The next one is we save up for things like new cars. You know, you generally know when your car is getting to the point where you're going to have to replace that. So
right.
we will do a lot of saving up for cars or repairs or all that, again, to not be spending all of our money knowing that at some point something's going to go wrong, and then when it does, you're like, I don't have any money.
Right.
So we're always saving up for the thing that's going to go wrong or something that needs to repair or something like that. So
yeah, that really, the main thing about that is just be honest with each other, right? Like, I think sometimes we can want to bury our head in the sand and go, let's just pretend like that funny noise your car is making every time we put it from park into reverse isn't actually happening.
Yeah.
Rather than just being honest and going, hey, we better start planning for this because this is going to happen.
True. Yep. All right. What's our next one?
That's good. Entertainment. We do a lot of looking for things that are either cheap or free.
A lot.
So, that could be things like things that are going on in your neighborhood, like neighborhood association events. Could be, scouring, the various websites or blogs or whatever in the town that you live in for things that are cheap or free. Coupons are certainly a thing, for sure, and you're really good at finding those things. For me, this is a little bit different because some of the things that I enjoy doing with friends and even with family are expensive things. Board games are a good example. They aren't inexpensive. You would think they are, but they're not. But for me, I look at those things and I will actually keep track of
yes, he does.
How much time I'm spending on those things. So every game I have in my collection, every time I play it with Andrea or the kids or a friend or whatever, I log that. And so I know over time,
his ROI.
Like, hey, at the end of the day, I spent 6 cents an hour on this game, and go, man, well, that's fantastic. And I do the same thing with video games or other things like that. Things that might be an expensive initial purchase, but that I'm going to use over time. And then I can be honest with myself about, okay, this other thing that I see that I might want to do, am I being honest with myself that I'm actually going to get value out of this thing or not?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what we look at is not quantity, but value.
Right. Value.
Is this really
right.
worth it to us? So there's tons of things that you can do, like Topgolf is a great example. On Tuesdays, they have half price Topgolf. So we would do that every once in a while. There's a huge trampoline place that our kids love here in town. And on Fridays, it's like homeschool Friday. So it's $5 per kid. Super cheap. So we'll do that occasionally.
Free kid night when we do eat out.
Yeah, we go if we do eat out, we usually try to go to a place that has kids eat free that night. And that saves us a bunch of money. I don't know, there's just a lot of ways that we've found to, in the summer, there's those like free movie in the park sort of thing after dark. And those kids love that. There's a lot of free or cheap things that you can do in your area that are great for having fun, having a little bit of entertainment, but we also create a lot of our own entertainment too.
Right.
Just being, doing fun things.
Right. Building a fort in the basement.
Right.
Or playing around the neighborhood.
Right. It doesn't have to be going anywhere special.
Yep.
So, and also, this isn't entertainment, this is food, but there are so many ways to get free food.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but somehow I find about the ways that restaurants are giving away free food, and I seem to find them all, and we hit them all up.
You're a wizard.
And it's amazing, and it saves us a lot of money.
Chick-fil-A is a huge...
Yeah, they give away a lot of free
food.
They
give away a ton of food, so check their Facebook pages. And
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so then for dates, for us, they don't happen often, but we have found that going on dates after our kids go to bed is really a way to minimize the babysitting costs.
Right.
So getting out dates, going out, it helps if we do that. So we'll have a grandparents come over and watch them, and it's really easy because they just have to hang out, while our kids sleep. And or you might be able to find somebody who would be willing to come over and study, a college student who would be willing to just study while your kids sleep so you can go out. So it's definitely a big way to save money by going out after your kids go to bed.
Yep.
Put them to bed a little bit early. And then
pretty soon
we'll
Jackson
have
will be able
someone
to babysit here that will be able to babysit.
And then he'll be good for hanging out with the kids while they're in bed, and he won't have to do anything either.
Right, and we won't pay him. So
probably not if they're in bed. So that's a way that we save on dates. Right.
Then kind of last thing is sort of a grab bag of things. So babe, tell me your thoughts on some of these. But for one thing, and this is definitely something that has taken off with a lot of people, at least that we know, and that is getting rid of cable.
Yeah.
They're just...
I can't believe how expensive it is.
Yeah, it's crazy expensive. So that what? So that you can have, 800 channels of which you ever watch 3 of them. Right? And now piecemeal services exist.
Yep.
I mean, you can get ESPN without anything else if you're a sports person. You can get the MLB Network or MLB TV without anything else. I mean, you can get between Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime. I mean, there's all of these services where you can get a lot of the stuff that you would watch on cable for pennies on the dollar compared to what you will pay for cable.
And is it really worth it to watch that much TV anyway? So,
right.
Toys, we don't. So our kids have lots of family, and they have birthdays and Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day and, all the stuff. Our kids get a lot of gifts throughout the year on all those things. So we aren't buying our kids. We've talked about this in another episode. We don't buy our kids toys other than, birthday and Christmas and maybe a basket at Easter and stuff like that. But we aren't buying our kids gifts,
right,
or toys other than that, because they are enormously blessed.
Yes, they are.
During other times of the year. So we keep our budget down on that a lot. Birthday parties, we really try to 1 year. So we try not to spend a crazy amount on birthday parties. 1 year, Jackson had a bunch of his friends over, and we did a cereal and we did a Saturday morning thing. So we had his friends over, we did a cereal bar. There were all sorts of different cereals that they could have, and then we watched cartoons for a while, and then we went outside and did some Minute to Win It games. It was super fun, and it didn't have to cost a ton of money. Some years we put a little bit more into the party and go out to a trampoline park or something and do that, but typically we're trying to do those less expensively, and
particularly when the kids are young.
Especially when they're young. And those seem to be really the ones that are a lot more memorable and more fun anyway. So things like that. We're just always considering, how much is this costing, and is it really worth it to spend the money on that, or can we do something else that's less money and we can still get a good return out of that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And one more tip that I just thought of as we were sitting here is, and this wraps into all of these, and maybe we should have said this first, but we keep diligent, dare I say, meticulous track of what we're spending our money on.
Oh, yeah.
None of this stuff really matters if you can't be honest with yourselves about where you're spending your money.
Sure.
Because money has this amazing, magical aspect of it where it will just sort of fly away if you aren't really diligent to know where it's going and direct it.
Yep.
And so, I guess that would be step one is, as a family, if you don't have some way that you're keeping track, and I mean every penny that's going out of your bank accounts, that you know where it's going, why it's going there, and that doesn't mean hey, don't spend it on anything. I mean, if we spend on plenty of discretionary things, but then we recognize those things.
Yep.
So that in future years we can look back and go, we always have a really good idea of, oh man, if things got bad and we had to really tighten the belt, here's what we could get down to with regards to each of these things. But you can only do that if you're keeping really close track of it.
Yeah, it's a very important point. Yeah,
right.
That's great.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, so these are some of the ways that we've found to have a big family, but also not be bleeding money all the time. Although sometimes it feels like that.
Yes, true. There are times.
Life
seasons,
is just expensive, but
adulting.
we found a lot of ways to really cut down on the expenses and not be spending money out our ears all the time. So hopefully this helped you. Even if you have no kids or one kid and you're thinking, how can I, cut expenses, or how can we afford having another one? There's a lot of ways that you can find to afford these children that are worth it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being here. Sunday, we will have our Sunday Night Live on Marriage by Design. Love to have you join us. Share a little bit about what it is that you do within your family to keep an eye on your expenses and to keep those down. Then Monday morning, we will have the first, well, technically second episode, but the first fruit of the Spirit that we will dig into talking about. That will be a discussion of how we can live out love in our marriages. So look forward to that on Monday. Until then, guys, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you being here. And remember, God is for your family. Have a good weekend.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Marriage by Design. If you were impacted by this video, like it by hitting the thumbs up below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and once you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when new episodes release.
Excellent. Also, one of the huge pillars of our show is interactivity between us and you. So we would love you to comment down in the comments below if you have thoughts about this video, or if you have questions or other things you'd like to see considered in the future. In addition, if you'd like, you can email us. That's marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram @marriagebydesignpodcast, or you can find us on Facebook by searching Marriage by Design Podcast. Finally, if you want to, you can tweet at us. We do have a Twitter account that is @MarriageXDesign. Thanks, and have a great day.